Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
It's time for another daily dose of dismal Disney. Starting the new year off right, there's a rumor that John Lassiter is extremely critical of Disney's recent films. This would not surprise me at all.
No, but it is a rumor. But it wouldn't surprise me.
I don't think he would be on board with a lot of these movies. They don't have the Lassiter touch, and as such...
Well, Lassiter touch is what supposedly got him fired.
Okay, maybe that's a poor choice of words. They don't have the hug of John Lassiter. But yeah, Disney's last couple of animated movies, theatrical releases, not doing very well. Most of their movies post-Lassiter have been dumped on the Disney Plus because of the pandemic. But even still, some of the movies that were released in the theater, like Lightyear, should have done well, and they did not.
And of course, the media immediately ran to blame it on,
Men?
being, istophobic and all this other crap. And it's like most people didn't. It was like Lightyear, especially. It was such a small part of the movie. No one really cared. It was more because it didn't feel like a Toy Story film. Did not feel like Buzz Lightyear, the character. No one buys for a minute that's the movie that the toy came from.
No, and Tim Allen says much too. He said, he didn't dunk on the movie per se, but he basically said this is not his Buzz Lightyear. He doesn't see any connection to Toy Story. He's kind of like, good luck with that, but it's not my Buzz Lightyear. So, and he's not canceled from Disney. Now he might be canceled from Pixar, but they just had the Santa Claus series out, and I guess
it did really well.
Yeah, the ratings were pretty good. So, I mean, Disney's probably happy with him there. He was very careful in what he said. But yeah, let's talk about John Lassiter, who I'm sure is very, very, very salty about how Disney treated him. I mean, it was weird. It was a weird situation.
Well, they kept trying to do the Pixar method, which was his method.
It was his.
They keep trying to do it. They're not doing it very well.
No. And this is a character he helped create, and he's just like, yes, this ain't it, man. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Finally, over 284,000 subs. We're kind of chugging right along now. So hit the subscribe button for sure. And we do talk about Disney. We talk about animation, having worked in and around Disney in different capacities, theme parks and comics and that sort of thing. The situation with John Lassiter, for those of you who don't know, he was in charge of both Pixar and Disney animation, Disney Studios animation for a number of years. He is considered one of the all-time greats. The reason that Disney had a renaissance, in my personal opinion, in the 2000s and 2010s was because of John Lassiter and his approach to filmmaking. There was a controversy during Me Too that he was called out for hugging people, basically, and he wasn't fired on the spot, but they basically let him ride out his contract and they kicked him in the balls. And then he went over to Skydance, and then people were rage quitting Skydance because he was over there, but then he went over and pulled a bunch of Disney people over to Skydance with him.
People were trying to get back. They want to work with him now.
Yeah, so I think people that worked with him, I don't think they would be going over there working with him if they thought he was a creep. Everybody knows he's a hugger.
He probably isn't so much now.
I don't think he is now.
If he's smart, he wouldn't be.
But yeah, Disney hasn't had the touch of Lassiter in a couple of years, and it's showing. So this is coming from Mr. Milo on Pirates and Princesses. Ever since his departure in 2018, they basically pushed him out. He stepped down. He did not step down. Since his departure, Disney Animation is now headed up by Clark Spencer and Jennifer Lee, with Pete Docter taking over Pixar. Lassiter was also the glue holding together the Disney partnership. That's true.
It's true. After he was gone, they stopped working with Disney. Yeah,
they did.
And now Disney's desperate for animation and anime and stuff like that. They could have had Ghibli stuff, and then they ruined that. Yeah,
he brings up that most of the new Disney animated projects have not done well at the box office.
I don't think Elemental's going to do that well either.
I don't think it's going to either. 2022 was perhaps one of the worst years for Disney Animation in a long time, with both of their major animated theatrical releases, Lightyear and Strange World, outright losing massively at the box office. Lightyear was a surprise to many due to its association with Toy Story, but audiences weren't interested in something that was divorced from the source material. Yeah, what gets me is Lightyear was such an easy one to get right. All you got to do is just make a more primo version of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
That's basically what it was, because that would have worked.
That would have worked, and that's the story everybody knew. And they're like, no, let's turn it into Interstellar. There's no way in hell that Andy, a young boy in the 1990s, would have watched this movie, loved this movie, wanted toys based on this movie.
That's the point, yeah.
Yeah, any more than when I was a kid, they had Dune action figures, and I'm like, Why?
Yeah, pretty much.
Why do you have Dune action figures?
Apparently, this report comes from Matthew Belloni of the Puck. Belloni.
I think it's Bella. It's Matt Belloni of the
Well, there's someone at the school with me that their name was like that, but it was like it was pronounced like Belloni. It wasn't pronounced Belloni. It was like something like Belloni or something.
Smith. It's pronounced Smith.
But they said that Lassiter is extremely critical in the recent output, highlighting that he had a disdain for Lightyear in particular. Obviously, understandably so.
I would.
Because he created the character, he's one of the ones who created it, and he had, I guess, a special connection with that character.
Yes, it was supposed to be basically his childhood, cowboys versus spacemen, because that was like a thing back in the 50s.
Sometimes
and 60s.
you got them combined, You got cowboys and spacemen, cowboys and planes at the same time.
So, speaking of which, side tangent here, Super Sentai. One of the, I think it was Kaku Rangers, one of the best Super Sentai, is one that the Ninja Power Rangers series was based on, but they have a cowboy ninja Sentai character with a really bad American accent, and I just keep thinking that's like our cowboy spaceman because he gets in his. I
just bought my dad a DVD that was Sky King, and now it was more planes than spaceman, but it was cowboys with planes.
That's
so I'm like,
you can cowboy anything.
Apparently,
we should mash up cowboys with more stuff. Okay, so this report, according to Screen Rant, said the report stated that two people who have spoken with the original Toy Story director says he was extremely critical of Lightyear and Strange World. Lassiter is said to hold extra contempt for the latter's
obviously
failing, having created and nurtured the eponymous Space Ranger for 25 years, having helmed the first two installments in the Toy Story franchise. And it was probably a kick to the ball. I mean, not only did they not bring back John Lassiter, but they didn't have the decency to give Tim Allen a cameo. Mm-hmm. I mean, what a kick to the balls that was. Like they wanted to divorce themselves completely from not only Toy Story, but the people who actually created this character. And again, this one...
And it went as well as you'd expect it to go.
Yeah.
So maybe they learned a lesson.
It should have been a slam dunk. It should have been something that was like, oh my God, it's the Buzz Lightyear origin story. It's the Buzz Lightyear Star Command that Andy watched.
Right.
So easy to get right.
And they can't blame it on, they said basically they can't blame it on COVID and people not going to the theater for family movies because they bring up Rise of Gru.
Yeah.
Did almost $1 billion.
Yeah.
So you can't blame it on that.
They tried, I think, early on.
Yes, they did. There was that, and it was because everybody's anti-LGBTQ and they're all phobes.
That was the other one.
They did that for Strange World, too. A lot of people said the movie's just boring.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. The ones that they actually held back for Disney Plus, Soul, Luca, Turning Red, I think any one of those might have done better at the box office than Lightyear. I think people were actually angry about Buzz Lightyear. They didn't quite get what it was. I think they were like, well, it's Toy Story kind of, but not actually.
It's Toy Story adjacent.
It's Toy Story adjacent. That's what it is. It's Interstellar by Disney's Interstellar. And it's Toy Story adjacent.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, and that was the thing. People were just like, yeah, screw this. And then they're like, well, they're just waiting for streaming. It's like, no, people just don't care. They don't care. They said one of the biggest factors blamed for Lightyear's bombing was the decision to recast Tim Allen with Chris Evans.
I think it was just not Lightyear. Like, it was not Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, they said fans largely didn't accept the explanation of it stemming from it technically being a different character. Well, that's the thing. If the toy of Buzz Lightyear is supposed to be based on the character of Buzz Lightyear, then that actor's lines would have been used in the Buzz Lightyear toy. So no, it didn't make sense. I mean, the only thing they could say is like, oh, well, it was another voice actor or something because of rights issue, whatever. It's like there's no way in hell Andy watched this boring ass movie.
No. They just wanted, honestly, what I think it was, they wanted to keep milking Toy Story, but they didn't want to bring Tim Allen along.
That's what it is. And now that Santa Claus is doing well, now this is Pixar versus, the rest of Disney, but now that Santa Claus is doing really well, they might be like, hey, let's do a proper Toy Story 5. Why don't we do that? Like actual Toy Story 5, because we need money. God knows we need money right now.
And then the Strange World thing too. They keep going on about, oh, it's the phobes. It's terrible people who are against LGBTQ plus people. But they bring up the fact that it got a cinema score of B, which is the lowest one anyone ever got. Yeah. So I'm like, and the critic scores weren't that great either.
No, they weren't. I mean, that's
so
the
I'm
thing.
just like,
it's gotten a point where I mean, it's so ridiculous that anytime a movie fails, you've got to blame the audience, right? You got to blame the audience. Never mind that the movie just wasn't very good. Never mind that people didn't like the recasting. Never mind that
it was boring.
It was boring.
Whatever.
No, it's the audience's fault. They're a bunch of bigots. And what happens is they don't go see the next movie either because they're like, well, if that's what you really think about us.
Well, that's why Hollywood's failing. They're failing because they keep trying to change everything for no good reason other than, modern audiences, because the people they got in there just want they actively hate the source material and want to make it their own, personal IP. And make their, own characters and all that. And then they tell the audiences when they don't like them, the movies or shows, that they're the problem, not them. It can't be our work. It's because you're horrible people.
Yeah.
What do you fucking think's gonna happen?
This is going to end. I mean, it's going to have to end. I mean, they're trying to say, well, Bob Iger's coming back and it's going to change things.
Bob Iger was one of the ones that greenlit this shit to begin with. Like Buzz Lightyear movie, he would have been behind that.
Yeah, he would have, because it takes years. I mean, people don't understand how many years it takes to create an animated movie. So yeah, good luck with that, Disney. You've created your own problem. We're going to wrap this one up, I think. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.